Hello, everyone, and welcome on over to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardio. Dude, it has been 18 months since the fanatical, mad, freaking terror organization Hamas decided, and by the way, like a good chunk of the Palestinian people, decided to be a really good idea to go over and start murdering people inside of Israel, thinking that for some reason they were going to have success, that's what it would look like to them, that they could just go over and murder a bunch of Israelis and Allah is going to take care of them, and that nothing's bad is going to happen to them. And so because of that, today, we are going to be going over the history of the last, I don't even know about the history 18 months, but it's going to be where are we at today? Like what the hell happened and where the hell are we at today? Like has the world actually learned anything since all of this happened? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think anybody's actually learned anything, or do you think maybe people are still like playing along with it? Because it seemed to me like after they ran across the border and they did a bunch of crazy ass shit, murdered a bunch of babies, took a baby hostage, strangled a baby, blew a bunch of people up, just did horrible, horrible things, raped a bunch of women, that the world was kind of like, you know what? They're bad. They're horrible people. And there is a little bit of a change that we see going on over inside the Gaza Strip. And it's something that I talked to you guys about last week. And I think that it is going to continue on down this path, right? Like we are going to see this uprising that's taking place over inside Gaza kind of stick as long as Israel stays after it. But the problem that I have today, and by the way, you guys want to see like another uprising? Look, here it goes. I'll just put this up there. Let me play this for you. I don't even want to hear them cheering because I don't care. These are the same people that were cheering on freaking like Hamas and their Palestinian neighbors on October 7th, right? So I don't even care. But hear me out here. Today in the White House, we ended up having President Trump sit down with Benjamin Netanyahu. And prior to all of that happening, they actually had a press briefing scheduled for earlier in the day. And then they ended up canceling it and moving it to a little bit later. Like at first, the White House was like, they're not doing it. And then they ended up doing it. And it just kind of like slowly progressed from there, right? And then eventually, like just bam, they were live. They're taking questions. They're giving the briefs and everything else. YouTube didn't send you guys a notification. That's absolutely horrible. That sucks they didn't throw notifications out. That's okay. You guys then just take it and share it. It's probably because I did 2 streams already today and uploaded a video, and this would be like the 3rd stream today because of all of the other crap that's going on. That's likely why. Now, hear me out on this, though. Hear me out. We've got all of this crap going on, right? Like over here. And you have all of these people that are out demonstrating. And I told you guys that the IDF has one shot not to screw this up. And I mean one. They have one shot not to screw that up. And what ended up coming out today during, and you guys are going to hear it here in just a minute, during the press briefing between Netanyahu and Trump, was that they are going to consider, yeah, it's the 3rd stream because I did the entire live session. I went live the entire time Netanyahu and Trump were talking, and there's some crazy shit Trump brought up, and you guys are about to see it. But they are actually considering another ceasefire. Why? Because President Macron from France, along with the president from Egypt and the King of Jordan, decided to put in a phone call to Trump right after they held this little joint session over in the Middle East somewhere, demanding another freaking ceasefire from Trump and Netanyahu. And Netanyahu was on his way over to the White House when they ended up putting that crap together and made the call. Incog Faraday, thank you for coming in and gifting out 5 Speak the Truth Meditations, buddy. So now, with all of these people that are rising up over in the Gaza Strip, again, look at this. A ceasefire deal would mean that Israel would end up pulling out. And every single one of these people that are out there currently marching on the street over inside of Gaza, all of these leaders, all of these people that thought it would be a good idea to rise up against Hamas, how many of them do you think are going to keep their heads if the IDF is forced to pull out on the alleged promise that they're going to end up getting some damn hostages back that have been held onto for 18 months inside of tunnels, or as Trump even called them today, it wasn't even tunnels. What the hell did he call them? Like pipes or freaking whatever. These people are all going to lose their heads. They're not going to survive. And because of that, if the IDF pulls out, the shot of this uprising ever happening again is over. It's over. That would be it. This wouldn't happen again. Because just like the United States of America, when we go into different places, nobody is going to trust us. Nobody is going to trust the IDF when we say we're like, if they say they are going to be there and they're going to leave. That means all of these people, their heads are going to roll. And that's not good, right? That is the one shot that the IDF actually has at causing some long-term change over there. But they won't be able to get it because these people are going to be scared to rise up again, because chances are everybody that's been told that, hey, if you rise up now and you do what you're supposed to do, everything's going to be okay. But then the U.S. goes and pulls out. So let's get back to where are we at today as opposed from before. I'm going to bring this up. Here's a October 7th video. A lot of people remember this video. Pretty famous one. You guys remember this?
تم خطف جميع من كان داخل هذه الدبابة. جميع من داخل هذه الدبابة تم خطفهم قبل قليل من قبل عناصر كتائب القسام في هذا المكان كما شاهدنا بالعين المجردة. كما شاهدنا بالعين المجردة.
Now, I have no idea what frickin' Mr. Hamas over here is saying in his little squiggly voice. Not a single frickin' idea. But he's standing over in front of a burning tank that we know that we ended up having people get killed and taken hostage out of. We do know that. This guy. This one right here. And this raging pile of garbage, today, it ends up coming out. Check this out. You gotta love this. He ends up getting injured in an airstrike. Dude ends up getting freaking hit in an airstrike and all jacked up. And for some ungodly reason, we still have people that are listening to the Palestinians' bullshit as if everything that they're saying is true. We still have people saying that this man is just a journalist, that he is perfect, like he's okay. He's a journalist inside of Gaza, ladies and gentlemen. All of these Gaza journalists, you know, the same ones that were reporting on like the Rafah massacre and all of this other BS that ended up taking place over there. Same freaking journalists. I want you to see something. Because it's not just him, right, in his little like jacked up freaking hut of like where he's lying around, right? But it's all of his little freaking buddies as well. Oh, you know what? Hold on. This is actually just funny. I love this. Israeli Pulse News put this out today. I thought that was absolutely hilarious because this is kind of like how they see it. Is he the new Mr. FAFO? No, he's not. That's exactly what he is not. He's just a raging pile of garbage. And all the little other Palestinian journalists are freaking mourning his death or like alleged like jacked upness. But he will never be that guy. He's not even remotely close to it. He's just one of those pieces of shit that get out there. But let me bring this up. I want to get this up for you guys. He's also got a picture of him making out with Yahya Sinwar, like the leader of Hamas, the guy whose forehead got canoed not that long ago down in Rafah, the last time the IDF went in there before they were forced to pull out, in the hopes that we get more hostages released. You know, that was before that Hamas turned around and like decided to exchange like bodies of hostages and like lie to families and get their hopes up and ended up like turning things over and turning their caskets and everything into like giant parade. That was before all of that. Here he is making out with Mr. Sinwar. I guess making out with him isn't real, but it's a heartfelt, touching moment between these two gentlemen, isn't it though? Like you got to kind of like, they're smiling, they're happy. One's kissing. Guy in the back looks like he's inbred anyways. People are actually going off. Now I want to show you this. This is a post from a family member because, like I said, everybody's like spreading this crap around all over the internet as if this guy is some sort of a hero. On the left is that scumbag, the terrorist in Gaza. They call him a journalist. Behind him, the tank my Jewish brother was kidnapped from. They're still in Hamas tunnels to this day. On top of the tank, Gazans are taking selfies, still convinced Israel was finished. And him? He was just filming. He helped Hamas massacre my brothers and sisters. He took part in the slaughter, the kidnapping, and the horror. On the left again, that same scumbag, the terrorist. This is how he looked after the IDF found him hiding in a tent in Khan Yunis a year and a half later. Shrapnel on his head, 2 fingers gone. His TikTok glory days are over. He always knew we'd come for him. And to that terrorist, I say loud and clear, in the name of every woman, man, and child and elder that you butchered that morning, Israel finished the job. I love that. I love the fact that these family members can actually come out and be like, you know what? That guy's actually a piece of shit. He went after and he killed all my freaking friends. And what's even worse is now we have videos like this one going around. And again, I can't get over the amount of gaslighting that's currently taking place inside Gaza, right? I ended up sharing this video with you guys, I think last week when it came out, and it was like right as the IDF was fixing to go in there. This is like one of my favorite like boom boom videos. I don't know if you guys remember this one because you can literally see the bomb right here as I circle it on your screen. Like, let me blow this up nice and big. You can literally see the bomb inbound. This is the bomb going into freaking smash, right? This one right here. Wait for it. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and turn off the whining crybaby music. As if for some reason these people didn't actually have this coming, right? As if for some reason they didn't have it coming. Now, what idiots across the internet are doing, in addition to all the other gaslighting that's out there taking place, is they're trying to pretend like these are now bodies that are flying through the sky. Right up over here. It might be hard to see, but I'll get it up there for you. They're claiming that those are bodies flying through the sky. Clearly, they're not bodies. I heard somebody try to tell me like that they're goats, that they're freaking donkeys, like whatever. Dude, they're not. They're none of the above. It's literally the earth and the shit on top of it that's being thrust into the sky. That's like getting up and getting blown into the sky. That's what that is. That is like literally the explosive propagating up and forward and propelling everything up into the sky. Now, my favorite part about this video is as they're whining and bitching about it, and I ended up like retweeting Khaleesi on this because she is like one of my favorite pro-Palestinian idiots that I just love riding into the earth of how stupid she is. But she said, if you look closely, you will see people flying high into the sky and then fall back down to earth. This is not a movie, it's Gaza. No, it is. Said, fun fact, explosives propagate 360 degrees equally in all directions, and that tall smoke cloud in the middle is the result of a directed energy blast, or a directed blast, i.e. a tunnel entrance. If bodies were flying out of it, they'd belong to Hamas. So frickin' cheers. Funny how that works, isn't it? Watch again. You can literally see them, allegedly, even if they are bodies, up and flying into the damn sky. Well, if they're flying into the sky, guess who they are? Because they're getting thrown out of the tunnel. What up now? Those aren't even bodies. That's just garbage and trash. That's literally Palestinian trash. Whatever the hell it is, I don't know. Goats, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Whatever the hell it is flying into the sky. It's ridiculous to me that these people like are actually out there doing these things. Now, let's get back over to something good. Let's talk about something happy and heartfelt. I know I talked to you guys about the Middle East and what would be happening over there. I'm going to pull up my good old friend Google Maps because, you know, every now and then you just need Google Maps in your life. So let me grab that and get that sucker up on the screen. I brought this up the other day. We have so much freaking like air power right now stationed over in the Middle East. It's insane. Now, the French, after they decided to make their phone call and try to convince like Trump and freaking Netanyahu to have another appeasement day of not having people, you know, like move in and strike Iran, right? And maybe to get another ceasefire deal over in the side of the Middle East. They actually were hanging out over at the port of Djibouti. They had their freaking aircraft carrier over there, hanging out at the port of Djibouti. After Trump and Netanyahu met, they basically decided to pull anchor and start sailing freaking north and ended up heading out of the Red Sea and tucked tail and their asses went back to France. Now, I brought up this morning and I said there is a strong possibility, all right, the way that France is talking with everything that the way, you know, what Iran's doing in the Middle East with all the terrorist groups in Yemen, over inside of Israel, Syria, and Iraq, that by striking them and taking that out and reopening the shipping lanes in the Red Sea, you're indirectly impacting the war over inside of like Ukraine, right? You are going after Russian supply lines by taking out, all right, Iranian like industrial complexes, taking out their nuclear facilities, taking out their freaking like drone factories and all other crap. By knocking out their infrastructure and taking that out, you are indirectly impacting Russia, or directly, depending on how you look at it. All right, by opening the Red Sea, you are freaking increasing the shipping that goes through there. You're taking away a massive amount of costs from the EU and everybody else, increasing energy supply and efficiency going through the Red Sea and getting their way over into the EU. All of that, again, affects the Russian war effort because now it's no longer Iran that's allowed to ship freaking energy through there. Now everybody can do it. So it would have been amazing to see the French grow a pair of balls, but just like history suggests, they have none. And they decided to tuck tail and run. Now, maybe, and this is just Matt's opinion, maybe the French decided that they did want to play ball and that they did want to go over and strike the Iranians because they absolutely hate Russia and Iran obviously supports Russia. Maybe that was the case. Maybe they wanted to do that. But I have a feeling they didn't. If they did, likely they wanted to do a hell of a lot less than what the United States planned on doing. Way less than what the United States wanted to do. I say that for a reason, and the reason is about to be up on your screen. It is now rumored. Let me make sure I grab this so I can read it correctly. You guys remember how I talked about the proxy organizations that Iran has all around the Middle East? How we've got like Kataib Hezbollah over inside of Iraq. We got Hezbollah in Lebanon, blah, 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 blah. If we're going to go after Iran, if we're going to bomb the living shit out of Iran, we're going to have to make sure that we also take care of those different proxy organizations because those proxy organizations are how Iran ends up impacting the Middle East. It's how it projects itself across the Middle East, keeps control and everything else. If you don't remember, Pedro, it's okay. Hell yeah, Mongo. Retired 11 bang bang in the house. Hell yeah, brother. I'm going to make you really uncomfortable live on air, Mongo, and I'm going to thank you for your service. Really, thank you. Why is that so weird? I don't know. But let's get it back up. So over inside of Iraq, this news ends up coming out today after this press conference that we're going to go over here in a sec. Over inside of Iraq, this is the information that we end up getting out. Right? OSINT Defender ended up putting this out. And I didn't see him cite any sources, which unfortunately he, to me, is becoming a little bit shaky on the reliability, but we'll go over this. Several Iranian-backed militias and paramilitary groups operating in Iraq under popular mobilization forces, including Kataib Hezbollah, al-Nukba, Kataib Saeed al-Shunda, whatever, all of these little jihadist organizations, including the one that ended up killing the 3 U.S. service members last year over at Tower 22 in the tri-border region. For those of you that forget, we ended up like right over here inside of frickin' Jordan. All right, in the tri-border region, tri-border being Iraq, Syria, and Jordan, like literally right over here in this little nook of Jordan. We ended up losing 3 U.S. service members last year because of a drone strike, right? They are all considering, I don't know if you guys saw that, maybe you didn't, like right up over here, that area right there, boom, yeah. They are all considering laying down their arms, every single one of them. They're considering laying down their arms because the United States of America is going to come after them if they don't. Why? For the same exact reason that Iran said the other day that United States of America, you are not like well protected as you think you are. Don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. You got troops all over the freaking region and we will attack them. When Iran says that they're going to come after U.S. troops, what they really mean is their little shit-ass proxy organizations in the Middle East are going to be the ones going after U.S. troops. That's what they mean by that. And they can't flipping do it. And they can't do it because all of these little organizations are fixing to lay them down. Reports of their disarmament come following several warnings issued privately over the last few days by the Trump admin to the Iraqi government, stating that unless Baghdad acted to disband Iraqi-backed militias operating in Iraq, then the U.S. military would target them with airstrikes. And I quote, Trump is ready to take the war with us to worse levels. We know that, and we want to avoid such a bad scenario. Said a commander of Kataib Hezbollah, adding that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps had given them their blessing to take whatever actions were deemed necessary to avoid being drawn into a conflict with the United States and Israel. I kind of call bullshit on that. I would think of all of the times for the IRGC and Hezbollah to want to act up and pretend that they have like bigger balls than they really do, it would be right now to try to go after and like win their jihad. But maybe not because Ramadan's over, right? Like maybe they're not just going to get the best spot in heaven tonight. Further reports say that some of those militia groups have already left their headquarters and reduced their military presence in a lot of the major cities across Iraq. Over in Mosul, in the Anbar province, they're all pulling out. But those that don't are going to be targeted when we open up. And that's going to bring me to my next point when we get in there. Well, I'm going to take this piece because I think this is like one of the best parts. I'm going to save it for the end because there's a lot of people that were like basically stating that, you know, there's nothing that the United States can really do when it goes to like bombing some of these like Iranian nuclear facilities. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute because we absolutely can. Trump today in the White House ended up meeting with Bibi and they held a press conference. Enjoy.
We want to get the hostages out. The Israeli people want the hostages out more than anything. They want the hostages out. This man is working very hard with us to do that. I mean, I don't know. I hope he's being appreciated because he's been a great leader. He's working very, very hard on the hostages and many other things. And there are plenty of things you have to work on. It's a tough place in the world.
I have a good partner.
Yeah. Notice how like Trump starts throwing him shade. Like in the middle of this press conference when he's like, there's some funny things that you got to work on over here, right? He's like throwing him shade as he's doing it. But he's saying that they want to get the hostages out. And Bibi in one of the, like his opening statements said that like they were discussing that. And later on, Trump ends up coming out during this and ends up saying that they are considering a hostage negotiation, a further one.
You do have a good partner, and so do we. We're working very hard on the hostages.
Yeah, working very hard on the hostages means that they're actually considering another freaking hostage negotiation deal. And that, in my mind, is not a good idea. But the one thing that I absolutely love that Trump ended up saying was this.
You know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate. And I think it's something that we would be involved in. But, you know, having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing.
Oh, wait a minute. That's actually not the part that I like. Excuse me. That's the wrong clip. That's the clip where Trump actually suggests that the U.S. military is going to go in and secure the Gaza Strip. Let me play that for you again in case you missed it. I don't know how he squeaked this past. I don't know how this is not on the headline of every freaking like paper in the United States of America that Trump literally talked about the United States owning the Gaza Strip today, that the U.S. would go in and secure it. Listen.
You know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate, and I think it's something that we would be involved in, but you know, having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing. Because right now, all it is for years and years, all I hear about is killing and Hamas and problems. And if you take the people, the Palestinians, and move them around to different countries, and you have plenty of countries that will do that, and you really have a freedom zone. You call it the freedom zone, a free zone, a zone where people aren't going to be killed every day. That's a hell of.
If we don't change the name of that on Google Maps to the freedom zone after the U.S. provides the freaking security force to go in there. Now, I think he backed that statement up a little bit, right? He did say like something worse the effect of the U.S. owning the Gaza Strip and all of this other BS. But really, I think what he's alluding to is that the U.S. would end up providing a security force, like as basically international peacekeepers. You know, like the job of the UN that's currently failing over inside of Lebanon to push Hezbollah north of the Litani River. That's what he's referring to. That the U.S. could take that job over, that we could somehow like take over freaking securing Gaza.
Of a place. It's a, you know what I call it, a great location that nobody wants to live in because they really don't. And when they have good living, real living, where Hamas and all of the problems they have, the level of death on the Gaza Strip is just incredible. And I've said it. I don't understand why Israel ever gave it up. Israel owned it. It wasn't this man, so I can say it. He wouldn't have given it up. I know him very well. There's no way. They took oceanfront property and they gave it to people for peace.
Only this frickin' man can sit there and state openly that the United States of America is going to end up taking over freaking security of the Gaza Strip, or that we should do it, so on and so forth. Then trash on Bibi for his people giving up the freaking Gaza Strip to Hamas and be like, how well did that work out for you? And then say that it was beautiful oceanfront property and we ought to call it the damn freedom zone. Why is this not a freaking viral meme yet on a dang map? Like, can you imagine that shit? Like seriously, can you imagine just over here, over in Israel, instead of Gaza Strip, we just end up calling it the freaking freedom zone? And while we're at it, let's go ahead and get rid of West Bank because that's just absolutely ridiculous, right? He literally said that today. And I don't think anybody actually caught on to it. I don't think anybody heard him when he said it, and it's appalling to me that nobody did. But let's go ahead and listen to Mr. Witkoff for a second.
An acceptable deal. I even thought we had an approval from Hamas. Maybe that's just me getting duped. An acceptable deal.
Yeah, you are duped, Mr. Steve Witkoff. We do not have an acceptable deal from Hamas. Hamas will never have one. And so it's not just Donald Trump that's getting schooled up on like this extremist ideology over inside of the Middle East. Like he's also like Trump's admin's going to get it. Trump actually went on today to talk on, and you guys are going to hear about it here in a sec. Trump actually went on today and started talking about how he's going to be friends with frickin' Erdogan or Erdogan, however you want to say his name, the frickin' president of Turkey. Absolute major pile of garbage. Lord, guide the surgeon's hands in Jesus' name. I don't even know who we were talking about, Pedro, but please.
We want to get the hostages out. The Israeli people want the hostages out more than anything. They want the hostages out. This man is working very hard with us to do that. I mean, I don't know. I hope he's being appreciated because he's been a great leader. He's working very, very hard on the hostages and many other things. And there are plenty of things you have to work on. It's a tough place in the world.
I have a good partner.
Yeah, you do have a good partner, and so do we. We're working very hard on the hostages. We want to get
Working very hard on getting the hostages out. And again, this is coming after that phone call, allegedly, that took place following that meeting between those three over inside of the Middle East. So it's a thing. Now, the big question is where is everybody going to go? Where are you going to take these Palestinians? Because Bibi said during this press conference, Bibi ended up stating that obviously they're going to have to do something with them, right? Let's talk about that.
You know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate, and I think it's something that we would be involved in, but, having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing. Because right now, all it is for years and years, all I hear about is killing and Hamas and problems. And if you take the people, the Palestinians, and move them around to different countries, and you have plenty of countries that will do that, and you really have a freedom zone. You call it the freedom zone, a free zone, a zone where people aren't going to be killed every day. That's a hell of a place. It's you know what I call it, a great location that nobody wants to live in because they really don't. And when they have good living, real living, where Hamas and all of the problems they have, the level of death on the Gaza Strip is just incredible. And I've said it. I don't understand why Israel ever gave it up. Israel owned it.
Look at that look on his face. That wasn't actually the clip I was looking for. I was looking for the one where Bibi actually comes in and he says, hey, we're open to moving them into Israel. Like, we'd take them if we want. To go over some of the ridiculous statements that actually came out of this meeting today, and this is how I know they're being controlled by somebody, Bibi actually started off by saying that we're going to eliminate the trade deficit for the United States of America. Okay, great. And then he actually got on Syria. And he started talking about how they are essentially not going to allow Israel to be attacked by Turkey from Syria. Because if you didn't know, the Turkish troops have moved into Syria. Talked about it a while ago that we ended up getting word that all that was happening, that the Turkish troops were coming in after HTS ended up taking over Damascus, like back in December, and freaking Assad ended up flying out to Russia and all the Russian troops ended up backing out. We saw Turkish troops come in like right about here on the border, started marching south down towards Aleppo, and then started pushing up and over towards like the Kurdish territory up in like the northeast, right? But now he's pushing, like Turkey is continuing to push south. And they're starting to take over some of these like different Russian air bases and things like that. And one of the major concerns by Bibi is whether or not Turkish troops are going to end up clashing with the IDF. Because if that happens, we're going to have another big problem on our hands. We're going to have a NATO country thumping on our largest ally in the Middle East. Like, two of our friends are going to be beating the crap out of each other over in the Middle East. We're going to have to figure out what to do with that. This report ended up coming out yesterday. Yeah. Yep. April 6th. This report ended up coming out. Israel and Turkey trade blows over Syria as proxy conflict expands. It's a thing. It's a problem now. And Israel's got to deal with it. What's even worse, some of the suggestions that are being passed around in the back channels right now is that as the Gaza Strip is being rebuilt here in the near future, that they're going to take the Palestinians. Remember how they talked about relocating them to another country, and everybody was like, oh, maybe Egypt will take them. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. They sure as shit didn't want to take the Gaza Strip after they got offered it after the war in 67. But now they're talking about taking these Palestinians and sending them over into freaking Syria. You can't make this up, as if that's a good idea. Yeah, let's take all the radical Islamist extremists from the Gaza Strip and let's send them into Syria, where the current de facto leader wants to establish a Sunni Islamic caliphate and has been fighting for it for the last 10 years. And just now, once he's finally overthrown the Assad regime, that magically everything's going to be all better. This is literally the crap that got discussed today, and I can't make it up. While we're doing good things and we're fixing to take care of Iran and we're fixing to bomb the shit out of Iran and we're fixing to take them out of control, we're fixing to get rid of all their proxy organizations. Dude, and get this. There's even a rumor mill right now for down inside Yemen, for where we're bombing the crap out of all the Houthis, that there might actually be a ground invasion, like an amphibious assault or something of that nature, that's going to be taking place sometime in the near future. Of some some other random proxy force that's going to go in there and take care of these folks. And that we might have USSF on the ground helping them out, directing airstrikes and things of that nature. Cool. Good story. Great. That takes care of one tiny little problem. But the bigger problem for the future of the stability of the Middle East is going to be Syria, because what we would be doing essentially is we would be trading today's security for tomorrow's destruction. That's what we would be guaranteeing. And so it's not something that we can ignore. It'd be like partnering with the freaking Taliban or partnering with Al Qaeda, thinking that somehow that's going to make our lives a little bit better, when in fact, it's not going to. But that is the idea right now, that we take the Palestinians and we shove them over into Syria. Now, maybe it's not a bad idea, because maybe they'll get caught up in the civil war and they'll go over and they'll do their freaking thing over there. I don't know, man. Maybe they'll feel like conducting jihad in another country. A lot of them like to do that. That's why ISIS took off to the extent that it did. Let them go conduct jihad in another country. Let them go. But we also have an issue with the media inside of this country. We have an issue with media like knuckleheads like Tucker Carlson. This dude actually got 5.3 million freaking views on this thing today. It blows my mind. He said, whatever you think about the tariffs, it's clear that now is the worst possible time for the United States to participate in a military strike on Iran. Totally disagree with that statement. Now it would be an amazing time to strike Iran, seeing as how they have hundreds of pounds of enriched uranium, up to 60%, at least. The most they need is 20% enriched, and that, maybe 25. The most they need is 20. And so they have hundreds of pounds of enriched uranium, up to 60%. He said, we can't afford it. Thousands of Americans would die. So he somehow thinks that Iran being a nuclear state, with all of the things that they've accomplished without them being a nuclear state, that Iran being a nuclear state would be way better for America and the security of the world and the Middle East and all of our trade routes and pretty much everything that you hold near and dear to your freaking heart. Tucker Carlson's dumbass thinks that it would be a good idea not to do this right now. And somehow he says thousands of Americans are going to die doing this. I don't see it. Somehow Tucker does. He said we'd lose the war that follows. What war is he talking about? We're talking about a freaking bombing campaign that has yet to be seen in history. We're about to unleash the full freaking might, not even the full might, just a good chunk of the might of the United States military across the Middle East. Why we contribute so much of our damn GDP, which, by the way, Trump today in his freaking message in the press briefing ended up saying that we're going to have the largest one yet, up to $1 trillion, which would trump the highest military budget that we have from 2023 of $9.15 billion or something, or $915 billion. Yeah, I said that right. Whatever, dude. At the end of the day, we're throwing even more in there, and Trump even ends up throwing statements out towards them. No, now is the perfect time to do that, especially if the stock market's going down and everything else, and our freaking trade, interest rates, whatever. If we're going to be buying into the military industrial complex, might as well get it while it's cheap. He said, yet we're closer than ever. Thanks to unrelentless pressure from the neocons, this is suicidal. It's suicidal for us to go to war with Iran. It's suicidal for us to stop a freaking like radical Islamic regime from getting nuclear weapons that quite literally shouts death to America every chance they get. You're right. We should let them have nukes. Anyone advocating for conflict with Iran is not an ally of the United States, but an enemy. Dude, I don't know the effects of sucking Putin's dick, but I got a feeling after you do it and you swallow a load of that size, shit like this probably comes out of your mouth. That's my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but that's my thought. What a freaking nut job, man. What a freaking nut job. Meanwhile, as we're talking about the Middle East being in absolute turmoil,
I hope that's not going to be a problem. I don't think it will be a problem. Now, with that being said, I believe it was Turkey, and I said that to him. I said it. I said, congratulations. You've done what nobody's been able to do in 2,000 years. You've taken over Syria with different names, but same thing. I said, you've taken it over. He's taken it over through surrogates. He goes, no, it was not me. I said, it was you, but that's okay. You don't have to say, well, sort of maybe it was me. Okay. But what he did, he said, look, he's a tough guy, and he's very smart. And he did something that nobody was able to do. You know, you got to hand it to him. Any problem that you have with Turkey, I think I can solve. I mean, as long as you're reasonable. You have to be reasonable. We have to be reasonable. Thank you very much, everyone.
he thinks that he can solve any of these problems with Turkey. And clearly he doesn't understand like the ideology that's taking place here and what Turkey is currently backing. Like, I don't know who's advising Donald Trump on what the hell is taking place in the Middle East, but maybe they need to inform him that Turkey is quite literally backing up like al-Baghdadi's friend, like the guy that he bragged about killing like a dog and dying like a little girl, like as the dogs were coming after him, beautiful dogs. Maybe somebody needs to inform him that he is quite literally backing up a guy that is backing up al-Baghdadi's buddy. Somebody probably should tell him that, because I think he is unaware. And maybe if he was aware, it'd be a little bit better. And why is he saying that? Because of this.
We also discussed the situation in Syria. We've had neighborly relations with Turkey that have deteriorated, and we don't want to see Syria being used by anyone, including Turkey, as a base for attack in Israel. Turkey is a country that has a great relationship with the United States. The president has a relationship with the leader of Turkey. We discussed how we can avoid this conflict in a variety of ways, and I think we can't have a better interlocutor than the president of the United States for this purpose. And of course, we also discussed Iran. Look, we're both united.
Wow. I know Bibi's not that stupid. I know Benjamin Netanyahu has a great understanding of the Middle East. I know Benjamin Netanyahu understands what it means if all of that goes down. I know he does. It kind of drives me nuts. Now, for any single person that thinks that the United States is not going to be capable of bombing the shit out of Iran and taking out their nuclear facilities because they have them so deep buried down in the frickin' mountainsides inside of the earth and everything else, you have to understand the amount of frickin' might that we currently have stationed over there. Tens of thousands of frickin' service members that are now currently over there. We have brand new aerial defense assets. We have multiple strike carrier groups. We have nuclear submarines. We have B-2s. We have B-1s. We have so many freaking refueling tankers. It's not even funny. We ended up moving in strike carrier groups that likely are ended up bringing in things. I saw over 150 now, over 150 C-1. I think it was like between C-130 and C-17 flights that have just been on constant rotation, dropping off supplies over into the Middle East. What the hell do you think they're dropping off? They're dropping off all of our different freaking ammunition so we can take care of this, like all of our stockpiles, everything over there, because we're about to go freaking ham. And on Saturday, what Trump ended up coming out and saying during that freaking press briefing is that the United States is going to take direct participation with Iran in some sort of a peace deal, peace negotiation, anything like that. Basically like nuclear disarmament of Iran. And if those talks don't go good, Trump's like, I don't feel very solid for Iran. It's not going to go good for him. It's going to be bad. It's going to be very bad for them. Immediately after he gets out of that like press briefing, Iran ends up coming out and saying, no. They're going to be indirect talks. We're not going to do that. They're going to be indirect talks. So he's going to have his people. I'm going to have my people. They're going to go over there to do indirect talks on this. Saturday. They're literally stretching them out. And it then brings up the same question that I had for you guys before of who the hell is going to go in and verify and make sure that Iran is actually keeping up with the NPT. They're already currently in non-compliance. They've been enriching uranium far beyond where they're supposed to and haven't even disclosed every single site that they have. They're just going to continue to lie. Those talks aren't going to go good. They're not going to go good at all. And I highly doubt Iran ended up telling all these little like peon terror organizations that all they got to do is turn around and run. This entire situation in the Middle East, ladies and gentlemen, stinks. Absolutely stinks. It feels like a lot of politicians got in the way of what needs to happen. I'm sure enriching uranium's fun. I really am. This week is going to be very odd. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to keep our eyes on Yemen. We're going to keep our eyes on Syria, and we're going to keep our eyes on Iraq. Over inside Gaza, if they end up doing this peace deal, Israel's pretty much blown it. None of those people are going to rise up again. And your ability to have peace, like actual everlasting peace in the Middle East, to have this Palestinian issue finally put to rest, is going to be gone. It's not going to exist. Because that would mean that Israel would end up having to pull out of the Gaza Strip again. And all of those people are going to end up having their damn heads cut off. Stalling tactics. Thank you, B squared. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, after doing my third live stream of the day and producing a video, if you guys didn't go watch the video, you need to go watch it. It's currently uploaded. You guys love it and went live a couple hours ago. Go watch that video. It goes over what they discussed in depth today and the actual impacts of what it's going to have on the Middle East. I will do Discord tomorrow morning and tomorrow evening. So I will talk to you guys then. But I am going to take myself a break for the evening because it has been a hell of a long day, and I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me for another episode. Everybody that's donated, if you haven't, make sure you're subscribed. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.